Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live. My name is Brandon Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune. And yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder are playing right now. They're up 61-47 with a minute 25 left to go in the second quarter, first half. We will go through this. We'll try to be done as close to the end of halftime as we possibly can. But we want to join you guys. We always do this. We pushed it back to try to get as close to halftime as we possibly can. That way, you people that want to watch this and watch the Thunder can try to multitask a little bit and not have to choose one or the other for the most part. So, hope you guys are okay with that. That was the reason for the pushback. But it's been a fun week for Oklahoma. It's been a stressful week at the same time, particularly on the basketball side of things, but we'll get into that. Football-wise, Jermaine Lole, one of the best defensive tackle transfers, commits to Oklahoma. The best offensive line transfer, Bronson Hickman, commits to Oklahoma. And they hosted the number one defensive tackle and could potentially be hosting another this weekend. We'll have more of that later on in this live. Parker, spring game. We haven't done a live since the spring game. We did the podcast, but we have not done a live. Overall thoughts on the spring game? Good, bad, indifferent. What did you walk away with negatively? What did you walk away with positively?
I mean, largely indifferent, which I think is what you want. I think you want to be walking away from the spring game feeling about how you felt about the team going in. And that was my overarching feeling on it all. I don't really see how you can watch a spring game and walk away feeling measurably better about the team because they're always, in any intra squad action, we've talked about this before. There's always two sides of the coin, right? Anything good that one unit does, you can look at it from the other side and say, well, the opposing unit sucks. You can look at good defensive line play and say, well, the O-line sucks. Or you can see good wide receiver play and go, oh, the secondary sucks. Right. So because of the net neutral nature of anything intra squad, I don't think it's possible to walk away from a spring game feeling demonstrably better about the team than you felt coming in. I will say this. I think you saw exactly what you wanted to see in the spring game if you're an Oklahoma fan. What you saw is Deion Burks went nuts, and some of those young pieces on the defensive side of the ball really shone. And that, to me, if there's two things you could be walking away going, yep, check that box, that's great. Those are two of the things near the top of the list, or were heading into the spring game. Obviously, Burks stole the show. Super exciting to see what he can do, not just down the field. And he demonstrated on those two long touchdown receptions that he can get behind a defense, but it was also just fun to see him with the ball in his hands, working that intermediate, and he was able to make some stuff happen. And I think it's very clear to me right now that all respect to Nick Anderson and Jaden Gibson and Andrell Anthony and Jalil Farouk, but Deion Burks is going to be the most dangerous receiving weapon in that core that Oklahoma has this fall.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Deion Burks. I mean, you're going to get those players back. I think that is probably the best thing for you, the fact that Andrew Anthony's coming back. So you got two speedsters. And I think people need to also kind of suppress their expectation for Andrew Anthony coming off an ACL tear. You just don't want – it's going to be hard to be fully back until probably October, because that's kind of that year marker that everybody starts to get, back on track after the – now, they're cleared to play after 6 to 9 months, but getting everything back in order the way it was previously is also – it takes time after an ACL tear. So in particular, because of the fact that he had to go back in and clean some things up, which is very normal after ACLs. But the fact that you do have him as an option, great. Farouk, awesome that you have him back, right? Um, Nick Anderson, awesome. That's kind of what I came away with was the wide receivers are going to be super deep, super talented. Jackson Arnold's going to have Bauer Sharp to be able to throw to. Obviously, uh, you know, you believe that Jake Roberts is going to be the other tight end that will probably make some headway whenever he's fully healthy. And then offensive line wise, I just thought the ones looked better. I think that's probably where I differ from you as you come away with some things. I thought the offensive line, particularly the first, looked better than expected. And naturally that comes a lot with how they call the game, how it's set up, how it's scripted, all that. But with that defensive front, and I know that they I think the ones only went against the ones a couple of times. For the most part, it was one versus twos on both sides of the ball. And so, uh, I still Jake Sexton looked really good at left guard, but he's not going to be a left guard. He's going to be your left tackle. You get Garen Hatchett to come back. I think that's big, right? You've added Bronson Hickman. That's big. I just don't. I Yeah. You think Fabici's going to be really good? I assume Jake Taylor's going to be good. He looked good, obviously, in the spring game, but spring game and live reps are two different things. I want to hear more about that and see how far he progresses during the off season, right? I think before you get super, super comfortable with where that position stands, because I think you feel much better about guard and center with the addition of Hickman because you have some movement, right? You got Hatchet, you can move Everett over there to one of the guards, you can move Bates to one of the guards, you can move Tarquin to one of the guards, he can play both guard and tackle. So there's some leeway for you there. Defensively, I thought the D line obviously looked really good. You've added Lole. I don't. I think Oklahoma feels like all the chips are in. From what I'm hearing tonight, unless something changes, it kind of feels like all the chips are in with Williams. Like that's where they're going because it doesn't sound like Barrow or Harmon might be trending towards Oklahoma at this point. Um, that's just buzz. Obviously, we're still working to confirm all that as far as trying to get them in on visits. And transfer changes very quickly, much like recruiting. So it's all NIL, and who can do what for you. I thought that the linebackers are super, super deep, super deep. The young guys at corners look good, and obviously the safety position is super deep. So like you said, you walked away knowing what you already knew, and like, okay, confirmed. But I thought the O line, after all the negativity that we heard, for them to look as solid as they did, I thought, okay, that was a positive to me. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but I thought that was a positive, particularly because the Sooners defense is deep on the defensive line. So whether you're going ones and twos, you're still going up against a formidable opponent. You know what I mean? So, um, who was your offensive MVP and who was your defensive MVP?
I mean,
Offense is easy. Yeah.
yeah, that's yeah, obviously it was Deion Burks. I think
Mm-hmm.
most everybody that watched that game would agree Deion Burks was easily the most impressive offensive player on the field. You could go the Jackson Arnold route if you really wanted to. Those were the two guys that owned the day. Defensively, uh, I give me Michael Boganowski, man, because I thought it was really, really encouraging just to see him out there hitting, man, flying around. And he looks like exactly what you hoped he would be at Oklahoma. And obviously, he's
Mm-hmm.
3 months into writing his story at OU. So he isn't, I don't think he's half the player yet that he will be when he leaves. But first impressions, he looks exactly like what you hoped you were getting when you
Yep.
managed to outlast K State for that kid, which is he looks like an oversized safety that is just an absolute menace as a tackler and as a hitter.
Yeah, Boganowski is a freak. Like he's a freak. The way he laid the wood on a couple of those guys, I mean, it, as a source told me, it's easier you want to be able to you want to slow them down, not speed them up. And Boganowski's got one speed, and that is balls to the wall and just playing with his hair on fire. And so that is a very positive thing for Boganowski. Again, like you said, I thought obviously Burks was the MVP. You could give it to Arnold, I guess, as the other guy. Um, Defensively, I mean, is Grayson Halton, is that not the easiest one to pick on the defensive
He was
side?
good.
Grayson
He was
Halton, I
good.
mean, I thought he was really good. I thought he played really, really well. You heard his name over and over and over. I thought Jaden Jackson looked good. I thought Ethan Downs looked really good. Um, Caden Woolard made a couple plays. Our Mason Thomas was getting in the backfield quick. PJ made some plays. So I, at the end of the day, I just thought the defense looked about like we thought it was going to look, just good. Um, Recruiting, big group of people came in. Recruits, targets came in this weekend. There was 3 big transfers. 2 of them committed. 1 did not. 1 left Texas here recently after a visit. It sounds like he's still going to take more visits. That's a good news. Like if you're Oklahoma, you got to look around and go, okay, you made it.
I guess it's better than the alternative,
Yeah,
which
right.
is
Like,
like
yeah.
he commits to Texas. I still don't think it's great
No,
because
no.
like any way you slice it, the fact that he left Norman does not point in a favorable direction as far as the Sooners' chances here. Because with each visit he takes, the price goes up, and the price goes up, and the price goes up.
Yep, every visit. I mean, I guess that's the double-edged sword with it. But from my understanding, um, it it sounds like the visit for Texas went really well. I haven't heard much else about that. They made it. Like I said, when I talked to them before the OU visit, they told me flat out, like, hey, all these are going to visits are going to be taken. Now, naturally, some of the visits, the names changed, right? Like Oregon wasn't in the first batch of names. Missouri wasn't in the first batch, neither was LSU. It was like Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, then make a decision. Now you got Missouri, LSU. And LSU, I don't know if it's a for sure visit yet. I think that's something that needs understood. Um, so you got to play that by ear. I also talked to a source last night where they felt like Oklahoma, if you miss out on Williams, they think they're okay at defensive tackle. And naturally, I think the fan base as a whole would agree with that. But also the fan base is like, get that guy. Let's not just be really good. Let's be great at defensive tackle. Because the inexperience is still going to take some time for Stone, Jaden Jackson to really break through. You know, they did things in the spring game without Dejon Terry. He was out for most of the spring. So you get that back. You add Lole to that piece on the interior with Grayson Halton, Jaden Jackson, David Stone, Devon Sears, and Marcus Strong. You feel really good about that position. But if you add Dominic Williams to all that, you feel great about that position at that point. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. There's some Jonah Williams questions, I guess. I'm going to have a note on John. I'm not talking about it on here. I talked to somebody today, and I'll just say that it ain't over. And
I would hope not.
things might be trending a little bit better than first thought. All right. Gage, $1.99 super chat. Running back room come game day. Sawchuck, Hicks, Barnes, question mark.
I mean, Sam Franklin erasure, first off. He's
Well, I
there
got
too.
another one for you.
And then you got, of course, Taylor Tatum coming in.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
Sawchuck, Hicks, Taylor Tatum. That's my bet.
that backfield is deep
Yeah.
and it is
Yeah.
talented. And to be on, like, I'm going to be 100% transparent here. Sam Franklin is a good player. I think he has value at Oklahoma. I was kind of surprised when they pursued him. I was kind of surprised when they made the decision to add another portal running back
Yeah.
because with Sawchuck and Barnes and Hicks all coming back, and you could have brought back Tommy Walker if you really wanted to. Could have given him a scholarship, but with Barnes and Hicks and Sawchuck coming back and Taylor Tatum getting added to the fold, you didn't need another running back. That was a luxury. That was a luxury take for Oklahoma. And what Sam Franklin brings in terms of his role come the fall, I don't know. That's kind of unclear. I think what we do know is that it's Gavin Sawchuck's backfield for now. He's going to
Yep.
go into the 2024 season as the guy. That said, I think one of the really encouraging things about spring is the performance throughout the practice period, throughout the 15 practices that Caleb Hicks had. Because I think what he did was he proved that he's not just somebody that's going to get passed over on the depth chart at running back. No, he's going to have a role. And as of right now, I would say he's your RB2.
Yeah. I, there was we're talking about Sam Franklin. Everybody was like, well, Ronnie Crimson said McCown is RB1. um, so Sooner Cowboys said they needed to add a quarterback, talking about Sam Franklin, just in case one gets hurt. And my point is let's do the math. You had Taylor Tatum. You got Gavin Sawchuck. Oh my God, I hate when it does that. Why does Zoom do that? I don't know. Taylor Tatum, Gavin Sawchuck. Um, you got Xavier Robinson, Javonte Barnes. You got Caleb Hicks. That's 5. You've got 6 now with Sam Franklin. Did you really need 6? And I bet I'm missing somebody off the top of my head. 6 is a lot.
I mean,
6 is a lot.
you can throw a Mecca Megwa in there if you really wanted to.
Yeah, Mecca Mega. Like, yeah, I get it.
That backfield is deep.
Yeah, it's really deep, and there's a lot of players there. I if you're Oklahoma, do you really have a place that you really need, like right now, need to add a transfer? Like need. Now that
No,
you've gotten
no.
no.
I think your last need, true
Oh,
need.
Bass. Yeah,
Oh, Andy Bass. That's right. That's right. Andy Bass. Man, he's going to be a fun piece here in a couple of years.
so Boganowski's dad just asked a question. Thanks for the super chat, Mike. Um, Brandon, how many Jordans do you own?
Well, what's the answer?
29, I think.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. 29, 30. Almost no. 31. 31.
Wow.
Yep, 31. Sorry. 31. I forgot I got 2 pair. I got one on that I didn't even think to add, and I got another earlier this year. Yeah, 31. So yeah, 31. I got a problem. I have like a big, like you walk in our room and I've got like these clear cases, and they're all like ones here, threes, fours, 11s, and I got and then I got like these. If you want to count the slippers, I got the Dior slippers and the Travis Scott Mocha house slippers as well. So Got a problem. Got a major problem. Um, Kobe Bear, appreciate the super chat. Has OU reached out to Chris Hardy to Jacksonville? Like I've asked people and nobody has really stated a yay or a nay. The interesting thing is that it makes sense. He's a good player. He played for OU's defensive coordinator, and he would add more depth. I don't know, though. We are trying to figure that one out. So that's something we are actively trying to dig up on. Appreciate the question there,
We got
Chris. Go
we
ahead.
got one from John May Myrick. What is the deal with Barnes not playing? That's a great question.
Venable's answer was kind of,
That's such a mystery right now, isn't it? Like, is there anything more mysterious over the last 9 months than whatever Javonte Barnes is doing on any given day? Because the amount of times last fall that he suited up for Oklahoma and went through warmups and was active and was ready to play and then didn't touch the. I mean, that happened on at least 4 or 5 occasions. And it happened again in the spring game. Honestly, in full transparency, if I'm Javonte Barnes, that's kind of got to piss me off at a certain point. I'm getting all dressed out as if I'm going to play football today, only to do absolutely nothing. And it's not a situation where he's like buried on the depth chart or he's some also ran where you hoping you're not going to see him in the game because you know he can't play. No, quite the contrary. We know Javonte Barnes can play. We've seen it. And so for him to just be mysteriously inactive so many times last fall, and okay, it probably had something to do with the injury. But for that to be the case in the spring game, like how many other guys suited out in the spring game and didn't play? How many? There were several guys that Oklahoma held out of action as a precautionary measure. Those guys
yeah.
were in khakis, jeans, sweatpants. Like those guys were very obviously.
Wouldn't you hold Sawchuk out before you'd hold Barnes out at this point?
I don't know, man. I don't know what the deal is. I'll have to go back through the participation chart and see if there was anybody else that didn't touch the field, any other scholarship player that didn't touch the field on Saturday that was suited out. Because that was the key difference between Barnes and everybody else on the 2 or 3 deep that didn't play was the guys that weren't suited out, you knew they weren't playing. I think like offhand, Barnes might have been the only guy at any position that dressed out as if he was going to participate in the spring game and then did not touch the field at all. Even Brendan Zurbrugg, who's going into the year as the 5th string quarterback, even he got a drive at the end. No Javonte Barnes.
Yeah, that was weird. And the answer BV gave was like you said, just holding him out for precaution. It was like, I don't know, man. I love BV, but that one just kind of didn't. I'm gonna question that a little bit. So like, there are certain people that feel like, oh, there's been rumors because of that, right? Like everywhere, they're like, oh, well, he may transfer now that he didn't play in the spring game. I don't know about that, but like, I can see why fans kind of go with rumors like that, though, when something like that happens. Just because Javonte Barnes, after what he did in his freshman year, particularly the bowl game, he's always going to have a little lore about him, right? Like they know how good he can be when he's healthy. And that two-handed monster between him and Sawchuk was deadly. When there was against one of the best D lines in the nation, just tore him up with a bunch of nobodies that hardly played all season. On O line, that was the weird part about it. So,
and that's what I'm saying. Like those kids were freshmen.
Yeah,
they were freshmen back that like that is a far cry from the Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk of today, experientially and developmentally, and like those were pups tearing it up against Florida State. Can you imagine? What kind of havoc a fully healthy Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes could wreak on the SEC in 2024 if they remotely resemble what they looked like that night in Orlando.
It'd be very scary. Very scary. That Christian fan, appreciate the super chat. They took Franklin because they had question marks about Hicks and Tatum is unproven at this level. Megwa is coming off injury. Okay, that's fair. But those question marks, let's put it to you this way. Running back's the one position that you can put a freshman in there and feel pretty good that they're going to be successful. And I'm talking like handing the ball off and taking the handoff and running. Like that is the easiest job on the whole team, is just taking the handoff and running. Now, if you want to talk about being able to read blitzes, being able to understand the scheme and what you're being asked to do in certain situations and down in distances, and understand what the defense is doing in your keys and all that type of stuff on certain plays, totally different story. But a lot of freshmen are super successful as first and second down backs, and then they bring a veteran for third down backs because they're good at just running the tote and the rock. Like that's what they're good at. So the whole question mark thing, I get if you're talking about being an every down back. But being a first and second down back, as long as there's a decent O-line, Tatum could come in and be very successful. Hicks could be successful. But that's just my opinion. I do agree that you're kind of looking for somebody to offset Sawchuk. I think at the end of the day, they weren't comfortable with Barnes being injured off and on and not having the burst that he had as a freshman last year. That was a question mark. Like you said, Hicks, Tatum. But thing I hear about Tatum is that OU is super high on that guy, and he hasn't even showed up to campus. So,
I mean, who's the number one running back in the class?
yeah, there's some people that feel like he is going to be legit. So, is there any other questions? There's a lot of
Oh, Ronnie Crimson, going back a ways, asked why no Fasusi this weekend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew there was another one. Okay. So he's supposed to be in Colorado this weekend. That's what we were told because he was going to be at the Rivals camp and then backed out. Which I think that probably hindered him visiting Oklahoma. But at the same time, like, okay, he's been to Oklahoma several times. On the April 25th, the odds are that the staff will be out on the road. Like, do you want to bring in a 5-star and it be the Switzer Center just be completely empty? Void of like Venables and a couple of GAs here or there. Like, you know what I mean? And recruiting assistants. That's not the show you want to put on for a 5-star. And I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm just giving you logic behind all this. The other thing is that he's in the middle of spring football. And they practice Monday through Thursday, from my understanding. So that may also be of, you know, one of the reasons why. So I'm going down this weekend to the Rivals camp. I'm going to stay and I'm going to go to Geyer. I'm going to go to Louisville. I'm going to McKinney. I'm going to, where's the other one I'm going to? Dang, there was like 3 or 4 others. So yeah, like I'm going to stay and I'm going to hit up some DFW schools shortly after and try to get as much information on some of these 5-star. Oh, I'm going to Mesquite Horn. But we'll get to see most of the Mesquite Horn guys at the Rivals camp this weekend as well, obviously because some of their staff works our camp. But yeah, that is my understanding. If there's more to it, I'm going to find out and update you on OU Insider. Promise. because I think there might be a little more to it. It's not that I think that Oklahoma's fading or anything like that, because remember, he walked away from that visit very, very thrilled. The only thing that could make it potentially fade was the fact that he was, I think, at A&M this past weekend, and now he's visiting other places. So we'll see how all that rolls out when it all comes to head. Um, Blake Wilson. Sorry, Jackson Arnold. I'm concerned that is year. What? Blake, do you want to clarify that one? Appreciate the super chat.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Help us out, Blake. Appreciate the super chat. Just want to make sure that we read it right the way you meant it. So, um, any Williams news?
Yeah, which Williams?
Yeah, are we talking Jonah Williams? Are we talking Dominique Williams? Are we talking Jonas Williams? Are we talking Isaiah Williams?
There are a lot of Williams. Caleb Williams. He's talking about
Are we
Caleb
talking
Williams.
Caleb Williams? He's going first to the NFL draft. I will readily admit I talked to his dad earlier this week. Um, it's gonna be kind of fun for them. They're excited about everything. Um, yeah, Blake, can you please let us know what you meant? The Boomer 129. That is your. What does that mean, Blake? I am not reading that one, Boomer. Nope. The last thing he said is not being repeated publicly.
We all see it. It's pretty funny.
It's really funny. So Biden was trying to read the teleprompter. Pretty good one. Pretty good. Um, EBO, he'll be wearing green for all that money that he's getting. It's wild, all the hate that he gets for somebody that's going to go in the first round.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Trust me, I get it. It just, okay. Blake Wilson says, I mean, that I'm concerned about Jackson Arnold this year, about his playing time starting this year. My typing is, I think he meant my typing is messing up. Um, I'm not really that concerned. I mean, he looked good during the spring game. What I can tell you is that they have been jacking with him. They have actively tried to make him super uncomfortable this spring. They've thrown every look known to man at him, looks that he will probably never see in a
there's one guy
game.
that can do that. It's Brent Venables.
Yes, but they're doing it on purpose because they're trying to make him think, and they're trying to make it to where when he gets live in season, everything becomes really natural and he plays off instinct. Okay, well, I remember when this happened, I had to do this during the spring or during fall camp. So they're actively trying to jack with him. And it's worked some, but he's got the best of the defense a couple of times, several times actually, not a couple, several times, a lot. And the O line will be solidified. I think that is the difference. Like when you look at it, I mean, poor Michael Hawkins during the spring game he had no time.
No.
But that's what's been happening across the board because they've been mixing and matching the O line, and you haven't really had a cohesive unit all spring because they're trying to piece things together. And so when you get all these blitzes coming from multiple directions and all that, and there's no communication on the O line because they have no communication, they're not meshed together. They don't understand the calls the way that they're supposed to know. Of course, Jackson and Michael Hawkins are going to make mistakes. That's what happens. So I don't know that I would really be nervous about it because we heard, I think people tend to forget. Remember that Tanner Mordecai and who was the other quarterback? The other number 10.
The other number 10. Are you talking about Austin Kendall?
Austin Kendall, yeah, Mr. Basic Defense. Um, Ohio State. I don't think you were a freshman when that happened. When
No, I
Ohio
recall
State.
that. I
Okay, the
recall that.
basic defense. All right. Um, yeah, Austin Kendall was pushing Kyler Murray. And I'm not comparing Jackson to Kyler. I'm just saying that sometimes they do things to make the potential starting quarterback have a more rough go at it in the spring. And then in the fall camp, you see them separate because they're not getting put in those precarious situations that they were in spring. That's what spring's for, straight up. So, anyways, all right. Lori Brogdon, who is the next commit?
Well, I think I know the answer to that one.
Me too. But go
You
for it.
you got you got an announcement coming on Sunday from 4-star cornerback Cortland Guillory. He put it out there on Twitter earlier this evening, but he's locking it in on the
Mm-hmm.
28th of April, 4 days from now. And I mean,
Is he going to
it,
announce why he's at the rivals camp?
oh, maybe so. Who knows?
Pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool, but you do the math, people. Two plus two equals four here. He's been to Oklahoma 3 times in the last 2 months. He was just at the spring game on Saturday. He's got supposedly he's got 4 official visits coming up in the month of June, and so especially with this commitment falling where it does from a timing standpoint, it's pretty easy to figure that Oklahoma is in line to get the commitment from the 4-star cornerback out of Klein Oak. And, we talked about it on the podcast. This is this is a more impressive pull than you realize, I guess is the best way to say it. Because Cortland Guillory had told me and several other people, hey, look, like, yeah, Oklahoma's up there for me right now, but I kind of feel like Texas is maybe where I'll end up. Flagship university in my home state. They've got that allure. They're pretty close to home with him being a Houston area kid. And he said, I feel like over the course of the next few months, Texas has a good shot to win me over. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, Brandon. And I think it spoke loudly enough when Guillory was making a 6-hour trip to Norman on all those big visit weekends over the last couple months, as opposed to making a 2-hour drive to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in itself kind of gave you an indication of where things were headed in the recruitment. But even so, uh, I think the fact that the commitment is coming a week after he was at Oklahoma's spring game pretty much fills in any gaps that still exist.
Yeah. So let's say Oklahoma gets Cortland Guillory. Who bites? Who bites to fill that last spot?
Well, here's the thing, man. First off, they're pretty much going to have to back off Shante Stewart. They're going to have to tell him, hey, don't show up for your OV on the Champion Barbecue weekend, because it'll be between Kobe Sellers and Tristan Haynes, or at least that's what you would figure. And so there's no room to even entertain a
Mm-hmm.
fifth cornerback at that point, unless somehow you start to get apprehensive about your odds with both Sellers and Haynes, which I foresee to be very unlikely. So you're going to have to back off Shante Stewart, I think, which kind of sucks. He's a good player. He's a really good
Mm-hmm.
player. And I know he's high on the board at Oklahoma. So you back off him. And then what's interesting to me is what happens if both Sellers and Haynes want to come? Because you're not
Mm-hmm.
telling Haynes no. He's an in-state kid. He's had that offer forever. It's been over a year at this point. But by the
Well,
same token, so is Kobe Sellers. He has been a major priority for Oklahoma. He is a guy that the staff is in love with. And he similarly has had that offer for well over a year at this point. And so Can you say no to one of those guys? Would you say no to one of those guys?
No, which means you'll have to process somebody and or not take somebody at another position. And you're not going to say no to Marion Robinson. You're not going to say no to Jonah Williams. So now you roll down to linebacker. Do you just take Marcus James and call it good because you're so deep there? Do you just take 2 years in a row? Do you turn away a third defensive tackle? You're not doing that. Do you turn away CJ Nixon? Do you turn away? You see what I mean? Like you've got to take your second edge is going to be another in-state guy.
Yeah.
You're in a rock and a hard place, man.
Oh man. And like the deeper we get into this recruiting cycle, it seems like the more first world problems Oklahoma has. Like again, these are the types of problems you want to
Mm,
have. If there are problems facing your institution, you would rather have too many guys chomping at the bit to be a part of your program than not enough. Boy, it's a diametric opposite of the basketball program right now, isn't it?
yeah.
They can't hardly scrounge together a roster. And on the football side, you're going to have to make some cuts that are probably going to be a little bit painful. Now, I truly do not know. I do not know how you say no to Kobe Sellers. I don't know how you say no to Tristan Haynes. And if you're going to take them both, if they both want to come to Oklahoma, something's got to give somewhere else. Is it maybe a wide receiver?
I guess
Like
that would probably be the best bet.
you
I
go
mean, so
three
now you're
wide
saying Andrew
receivers instead of
Marsh, no?
four.
You could tell
But
Andrew
then
Marsh,
again,
no?
like for instance, what if it's Marsh and Quincy Porter or Marsh and Emmanuel Choice?
Or Marsh and Cortez?
I'm not buying that one.
All
But man, like it's tough.
right, there's a
It's
bunch of by Job questions, dude.
okay. He's I mean, we talked about. I know I talked about this on the radio earlier. Like, there absolutely is no room to take him on scholarship at Oklahoma. So were he to end up at Oklahoma, it would be with a PWO type of situation.
Yeah. I I don't know how I feel about all that because I don't I people around him called me earlier. I got to call him back. I was at my kid's game when that happened, so I'll figure something out and have an update on the board. But Boomer 29 asked about the corner position. What if Kermani McLean enters the mix? Oh, he's not going after Kermani McLean.
Or you will absolutely not go after
No,
Cormani McLean.
no.
And he
And
put up
you
his
all look at it as a talent, former 5-star. There is more to that. Way more
a
to that.
lot more, a lot more. It's not necessarily. It is certainly not always a case of talented player entered portal. Oh, you should get talented player. Not that simple.
Yeah,
Not that cut and dry. Even as much as some people want to reduce it to that, I promise you that's not how the coaches look at it.
yeah.
They know all these guys. They recruited Cormani McLean out of high school. He never visited, like nothing ever really materialized there, but they offered him, like they pursued him.
He's a different breed, man.
Yes,
He's a
he
different
is.
breed for sure.
And
Uh,
like I said it on the board about Cormani, but I was never all that sold on him as a player. I I thought he was very overhyped.
yeah.
He was
So,
good. He was like I don't think he was going to be a flop at the collegiate level, but was he the number one defensive player in the nation the way that some services regarded him? Not in my
no.
mind.
So, no, yeah. There was this edit out that said where he named the schools that reached out to him. I think you have to understand just because a coach reaches out and says good luck or you know where's your head at or something like that, I don't think that means that they're interested
Uh-huh.
in, like I
He's heard from XYZ school does not necessarily mean he has an offer from XYZ school.
yeah, I think that's the best way, better way to put it. Yep. Perfect. Yep. So all right. Basketball.
Oh man.
I'll let you go there, man. I'm done talking. You have at it.
Oh, it is truly a sad state of affairs with the basketball program. I mean, Brandon, they couldn't even land the kid whose sister is already on OU's women's basketball roster. They couldn't land the kid from North Texas who's 2.5 hours down the road, who's got a sister on the women's team. Instead, like 11th hour, boom, St. John's makes a surge and he's going all the way to freaking New York. Is it New
Yeah,
York or New Jersey?
it's New York.
Okay.
Yeah, St. John's is New York. It's Manhattan. Yep.
There you go. So I I don't know where you go from here, man, because now we know Padula's off the board. Padula committed to Ole Miss this afternoon. So that is no longer a thing.
Which
No
means
longer
Garrison's probably
no
not
longer even a
happening now
pipe dream.
too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Lord knows Garrison isn't coming at this point. And like here's to me what is so damning about this ordeal is Sean Padula wanted to come home. He said as much in his announcement when he got in the transfer portal. I'm fairly certain it was in there. I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm fairly certain he said something to the effect of, I want to play my last year of college basketball somewhere closer to home. And we all kind of knew what that meant, right?
Yeah.
There was a reason Oklahoma was the trending school for the longest time until Sean Padula got on campus. And from everything I've been told, it was while he was on campus that Sean Padula began to realize, oh, maybe this isn't actually what I want. And I the way it's been relayed to me is he kind of realized if I come to Oklahoma, man, I might be on an island. It's going to be really, really hard to operate in a lineup where I have to be the guy that scores because there's nobody else save for. I mean, we all think Jalen Moore is coming back. We don't know
Yeah.
that. We think he's coming back. But outside of Jalen Moore, man, where is anything that remotely resembles star power right now on this roster?
J 1991. Where is basketball NIL? Jay, I don't know if you're a bro, but I'm going to call you a bro anyways. Bro, basketball has a bunch of NIL money. They've thrown crap tons of money at players, more than everybody else, and they whiff. That is, that has to tell you right there what these players think of the program right now. It is far cry from Lon Kruger, Billy Tubbs, Kelvin Sampson, and even Jeff Capel era right now.
Oh gosh, and
That hurts to
I
say, man.
I hate this, and I'll say it every time. I hate that this is happening because I like Porter Moser, and to a certain extent, I
Yep.
don't think all of what's gone on falls on Porter Moser's shoulders, but the Padula situation and how it all unfolded, that is truly damning. Because
Mm.
for a kid to want that badly to come to Oklahoma and then get to campus and for that to be the thing that turns him off, for the visit itself to be where his opinion kind of shifts and he's like, wait, no, actually, this is not what I want. This is not what I signed up for. I obviously the only people that will ever know what happened over the entirety of that visit and not just bits and pieces are Sean Padula and whoever accompanied him. But the optics of that situation are very bad.
Yeah.
Very
It's
bad.
No, what happened was bad. I mean that's we've talked about it on OU Insider. I'm not going to talk about it here, but
And he got
like,
a he got a nice little package to go down to Ole Miss. That's for sure.
yeah, but I mean,
But
OU was throwing out like stupid money at him and Garrison, and they still walked in-state kids. Said, nah, you know what? Now Garrison's not a done deal anywhere else, but I mean, it just doesn't feel like it's trending well for Oklahoma at this point.
no, it is not, and has not been trending well for quite some
So
time.
you got
Your
it. You
one
got
transfer addition to this point is Kobe Elvis, the transfer guard from Dayton, who averaged what 9 points a game. So like
mm,
not a scrub, but certainly not a star. And if you have a roster that consists of a bunch of 8, 9 point per game type dudes next year, needless to say, not all of them are going to average 8, 9 points per game, and none of them are going to be able to put the team on their back and go
yeah.
get you a bucket when you need one, the way that Javion McCollum did this past year. And even he, like, I wouldn't consider him to have been a full fledged star at Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
but he was the closest thing they had to it. You're not going to have anything close to Javion McCollum's talent level next year on this roster, not as things stand, unless
That
Dayton Forsyth is the second coming, which admittedly, like, I
he's
think he's
really
got
good.
immense potential. I
Yeah,
think he's going to be really good, but it's a lot on that kid as a freshman to expect him to show up and be a cornerstone for this program.
he better be JJ
Short of
Redick.
short of that, I don't know how there's anything to feel optimistic about heading into next season. And that's what sucks the most, Brandon, is that all of what's going on is going on in the off season. There's still a whole season to be played. So, yes, the vibes are not great right now. There is a general malaise surrounding this program and fans of the program. But then you got to go play a season with a roster that at this point nobody's going to be excited about. And maybe OU ends up with a couple of pulls in the portal that get people stoked, but where are they coming from? That's the question right now. Where are they coming from? Season's been over for almost 6 weeks. You got one guy on board, and he's a role player.
There you go. It's a way to end on a high note.
Oh, are we done?
Oh, it's been an hour.
Oh, look at that. Big Mike Boganowski. He's asking the real questions.
Chucky Hepburn from
Chucky
Wisconsin.
Hepburn. Man, I used to play ball with Chucky Hepburn at recess. He was 4, 5, 6 years younger than all the rest of us. He'd still give anybody the work. He was, gosh, he couldn't have been more than like 7 years old, maybe. Boy, he was a stud.
I
He always had the it factor. And he and Mike Sr. share an alma mater, Bellevue West High School.
There you go. Trey Young still has eligibility in today's world, right?
There's
Come
got to be
on back,
some
brother.
loophole.
It's got to be a loophole because they have agents now, right? They have NIL agents. So
I'm
there
sure
you go.
some donor would be willing to shell out $30 million to match Trey Young's NBA salary.
Somebody
They
would
got
if it
one
meant
year
him
of
coming
Trey Young.
back. Dude, it would pack the house. All
Tim
right,
Headington,
come
30
on, brother.
mil.
You're a billionaire. That doesn't even that's like pocket change for you, homie.
We got Trey Young ready to fill up the Lloyd Noble Center again. You got $30 million you can throw at it.
Well, I guarantee you, the owners of the Thunder, all of them are OU regents. They got some that they bought that thing for $230 million, and the dang thing's worth a couple billion now. So I guarantee you they've got some money to scrap around. All right. Anyways, I think that's gonna do it for this version of the OU Insider and the Visor Sooners YouTube Live. If you're not a member of OU Insider, look, man, we've got a lot. I'm gonna have some notes on Tristan Haynes. I'll have some Dominique Williams notes coming. I'll
I think
have
it's hilarious. Like, I'm sorry, I gotta be. It's this is comedy in the in the, in the chat right now. Lori Brogdon just goes, I hate basketball.
I'm sorry, Lori.
Oh,
Basketball,
Lori.
basketball's still a big deal. The Thunder are playing, so it's a big deal. I
At
know.
least there's one basketball team in the state of Oklahoma to feel good about and get
Yep.
excited over.
17-point lead with 34.6 seconds left to go in the third quarter. I don't know how I know that, other than it may be on over here on the side. All right. So, anyways, that's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live. Hey, look, OU Insider, look, Parker's going to have some notes. We're going to have transfer stuff coming. Um, Obviously, Brody has a basketball transfer stuff, notes on that. I'm going to have some notes on Tristan Haynes, the Rivals campus this weekend. And I think there's probably like 15, 20 targets from Oklahoma in the 25, 26, 27 that will be there. Parker and I will have plenty of notes on that. Some of the 5 stars, Lamont Rogers, all of that, like they're supposed to be there. So we're going to have all of that and more. I'll be going to several DFW stops next week. It's going to be a fun week filled with lots and lots of notes over the next week or two as Oklahoma goes out and about on the road. Seeing targets, offers will be thrown out in the 26 and 27 classes as they go about, and even maybe some late 25 offers. You never know. But we're going to have a ton of information. Oh, I got a Jonah Williams note coming as well on OU Insider VIP. So if you want to go over there, $9.95 a month or $99.95 will get you all the way to whenever you sign up into the 2025. So if you sign up today, April 24th, 2024, you'll have it till April 2025, April 25, 2025. So it's worth it. Promise you it's worth it. Give us a try. Had several hundred sign up over the last few weeks. They've enjoyed it. They've loved it. The board has never been busier. Thank you, Sooners fans. Also, subscribe. We're almost to 15,000. Appreciate you guys so much. Subscribe to this YouTube channel or any of the platforms you listen to OU Insider Under the Visor podcast. All right. For Parker Thune, for Spencer Forsythe, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed night.